In this episode, we are talking about grounding your energy. We discuss how to do it, what it means, how it's very different for everybody, the influence of your human desires and fears, and even a very popular term that people use that means the exact same thing.
Let's talk about what intuition really is.
Let's look at all the places intuition and ego show up in your life.
Let's share honestly.
Let's do the research.
I'm Jamie Hayhurst.
I'm Heather Wood.
This is the Intuitive Girls Guide.
Hey, Jay.
Hey.
We're going to talk about grounding your energy today.
Ooh, yes.
I'm laughing because it's just one of those things that's become laughable in a way. And listen, grounding your energy is really mother effing important. I'm all for grounding your energy. I do it all the time. I'm also a Taurus. We're going to talk about that. So like I'm already just a very I have a lot of Taurus in my chart. I'm naturally very grounded. Some people aren't. Like,
in defense of intuition, right? Which is what this podcast is about. But also I think sometimes we come across as like sort of breaking down that this whole world, this whole culture in defense of that.
Are we the tarot card? The tower card?
We are the tower card.
Okay.
So we might be. Yes.
Are we the problem? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. In defense of us and of intuition and the culture of intuition, the problem is that everything that we talk about, like the word like being an empath or grounding, like there's nothing inherently wrong with those things. Right. It's like when they hit pop culture, they spin and get twisted and distorted. Like that's where you and I have the problem. So when we're laughing at being like, let's go out and ground, we're not laughing at the idea of grounding.
No,
we do that shit on purpose, intentionally all the time. Like we are intentional about grounding every single day. In this economy, you've gotta. But what we're laughing at is the way once it hits mainstream, it takes on a different life and it starts to sound weird and corny. Honestly, that's where the problem is. It's not 100%. It's not the theory itself.
We're actually trying to protect the theory.
Yes.
We're actually trying to protect the things.
Yes.
And what happens, like you're saying, is it becomes silly.
Yes.
The woohoo element of it becomes silly. It's like every time I watch a TV show where they have a psychic on the show, I'm like, I know the script. I know exactly what this storyline is going to be and what's going to happen with this person. I can tell you, I do it. I pause it and I tell my husband ahead of time, and he's so sick of me doing it. And I'm like, at some point they're going to have some sort of turban on their head. Like it's all of these 5 things that happen every time are going to happen. Mm-hmm. And they do. That's what we're trying to stop, because then you lose something very important.
Right.
Because these are pagan things that are cross cultures. I'm going to tell you all about that in a second.
Yep.
We're done. It will help you right now. But if you make it too mother effing weird, people are not going to get the information, and they're not going to understand what to do.
No, they're changing the channel before they get to the information.
Exactly.
Right.
See, I didn't think this was going to start out so spicy, but
here we are.
What are you going to do?
You always say that.
I know.
This isn't going to be a long episode.
What are you talking about?
58 minutes later.
Jamie, I don't think I have enough for this one. And she's like,
okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah. An hour and 20 minutes later. Okay. So the idea of grounding your energy everywhere in pagan culture, we say this a lot, all these different cultures were all doing the same thing and they didn't know it. And eventually they traveled and found each other and figured out they were all doing it slightly differently, calling it something a little bit different.
Right.
This is what pagan culture is.
Right.
Okay. That's why it's so intuitive. It's because
it's just naturally happening in people's bodies, and then they're in their cultures.
And it still happens today. It
Correct.
Just seems less miraculous because we have such easy communication and information travels so fast. Mm-hmm. But I point out all the time, like people discover cures for diseases within hours of each other on different continents.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yes. The information comes up when it comes up. Okay.
That's in that book, what's it, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, yes, I love that. Yeah.
She talks about that.
Yes, exactly. So just some examples: Chinese, pagan culture, Aboriginal, Indigenous, Greeks, Romans, Egyptians, all were grounding their energy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a thing. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I've seen it referred to as earthing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really love that term as much. I think it's because I hear that used in like the more woo-hooey way sometimes.
Yep.
It's like grounding your energy is too normal sounding or something. I don't know.
Right.
But that means the exact same thing.
Yep.
And it could just be like also culturally, like, so I don't want to slam something that, you know,
right.
maybe somewhere else that's more acceptable.
Right.
But the definition of it is basically this. You're realigning your electrical energy by reconnecting to the earth. Science. So when you say like, oh, I got to ground my energy, you're saying something trippy, but it's actually should be normal.
Exactly.
You're saying like, I'm trying to put myself back in the way that I'm meant to operate by like connecting my energy to the earth so that I'll mimic that energy because that's more how I'm supposed to operate. That's how I function best.
Correct.
Because we are of the earth.
Correct.
You're a part of it. When you die, you'll go back into it. Like yeah.
Well, and that's like that's the overlap that we always talk about of where intuition and science meet and overlap.
Yep.
And it's because there are things that we always inherently intuitively knew, and we're now getting the data and the science to back those things up.
Exactly. So
they're actually they're friends.
They should be, like, but they're not. I love scientists, and people think that's weird.
Like, we have scientists who listen. Hey, Melissa.
Bill Nye, love him. Neil deGrasse Tyson, love him. Love those men. Love them. Every once in a while, Neil deGrasse Tyson will start talking about how he hates astrology and he thinks it's bullshit. And it makes me so angry that a scientist would do that. But it's like a cultural thing where scientists have to hate that and whatever. Right. It drives me crazy. Right. If I get the chance to meet him, I'll talk to him about it. I promise. But Neil, if you're listening,
I would love to watch that conversation.
We'll record it.
Come on,
we'll play it as an episode on the podcast. Yeah. Listen, I'm not even asking you to say you believe in astrology, but you haven't studied it and you haven't looked into it, and like we can prove that like the moon affects the tides and like we can prove a lot of this stuff. So what the hell are you talking about?
Right, just take it extrapolate on that.
You don't have to jump to a natal chart here, but like, can we talk about something?
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, so here's some examples of how people ground their energy. You sort of push your energy through your feet, okay, or down into your feet, touching grass. It's funny.
Touch grass.
I was going to say like the kids, the youngins, the youths say that now, like, you need to touch grass.
Touch grass.
It's like, I mean, they're saying you're ungrounded, which is awesome.
I mean, they're actually right. The person probably does need to go touch grass, but they say it like,
yeah. I agree. I think touching grass would solve a lot of problems, to be honest.
Agreed.
Yeah, okay.
Agreed.
You can tell when a person has not grounded their energy in a long time.
Correct.
Like, wow,
come on back down.
Let's get you near some tall trees. That's what I feel. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Speaking of trees, putting your hands on a tree.
Tree hugger.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I love it. I touch a tree at any chance I get, and I don't always like do it super obvious, but like if you see me passing a tree, I'm gonna touch it.
Right.
Why wouldn't I just grab a little hit of grounding?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't I do that? What are you talking about?
Exactly.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Breath work. Love it. Great. Meditations, visualizations. You can put weird things in your shoes. They make special mattresses for electric currents in your bed.
They do.
You can put stuff in your water.
I tell my kids when they're fired up and upset, I was like, put your energy into your toes.
Yes.
Like even if you just think of your toes.
Down to your feet.
It's like you put your attention onto your toes. You're probably doing it now as I'm talking.
Yep.
You're grounding your energy.
100%.
Right.
Sometimes I'll just say feet flat on the floor for a second.
Right.
You just thought about your feet.
Right.
I didn't even say grounding.
No.
I didn't even say the word energy.
No, and you don't. Right. Exactly.
It happens automatically if you start thinking about your feet.
Yes.
Boom. Okay. Being in the present moment is a great sign to know if you're grounded or not.
Yes.
Okay.
True.
Being able to be present. If you cannot be present, you are most likely not grounded.
Yep.
Okay. Here's something I'd like to say that some people disagree with me. Shocking that people would disagree with something I say. But I think you'll agree. Maybe you won't. We'll find out in a second. Saying that you need to regulate your nervous system is the same exact fucking thing as grounding your energy.
100%.
So if someone's saying, here's some tips on regulating your nervous system,
mm-hmm.
or, oh, you seem a little dysregulated, they're saying the same thing as, oh, I'm not grounded, or I need to ground my energy. That is the same exact thing.
100%.
People are like, oh God, grounding your energy is so crazy, but here's how I regulate my nervous system. And I think that's hilarious.
Agreed.
Talk to each other, everybody. Like, yes, you're saying the same thing. That's exactly what it means. So whether you're read them. Pull up an article that says tips to ground your energy, and then pull up one that says tips to regulate your nervous system. They're the same tips because they're the same thing.
Because grounding regulates your nervous system. That's what grounding is doing.
Exactly. Here's the thing. I printed out a picture. It ended up being really small.
Oh.
So you're going to have to put your glasses on to see it. But
Roger that.
I'm going to tell people that they can Google this. This is a picture of your nervous system on the left, and on the right is a picture of a tree.
Is it like this? It is.
It looks the exact same.
It does.
So Google that.
It does look exactly the same.
So you see, like,
the tree.
The tree is like the top of it is the same as your brain, and then the nervous system coming down is like the roots and the spinal cord. Yeah, they look the same.
And then it goes out into the nerves, which are the roots. Yep,
exactly. Okay. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's because we're of the earth. I know that saying like you're of the earth ends up sounding trippy, but that makes no sense because it's really silly that we kind of forget that we are, and not to like always have to be on the soapbox, but that's a patriarchal move to separate you from the earth so that they can take all of its stuff and make you not care that it's on fire.
Literally on fire. Literally and figuratively on fire.
Like, I know I keep bringing it back.
No, I know. I agree with you.
But it's true.
No, I completely agree.
It's an act of resistance to remember that you are made of the same thing of the earth.
Right. It's very much like a microcosm and a macrocosm. Like the earth is like, if you want to make it literary, like the earth is the macrocosm. It's the big picture, right?
Yes.
And then you as a human, you're the microcosm.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Because the act of everything makes you sort of forget that, and that it sounds kind of wild and trippy to say it, is on purpose.
Yes, it is. Right. It keeps you disconnected.
Yeah. So look up those two things.
Mm-hmm.
So if your therapist is telling you to regulate your nervous system and your spiritual woohoo healer is telling you to ground your energy, they're asking you to do the same thing.
Yep. They might give you different ways to do it.
Yeah.
But they're asking you to do the same thing.
Also, if you're dysregulated, you're not grounded. And if you're grounded, you're regulated.
Absolutely.
So if you would like to say, like, let me split a few hairs, I offer you that.
Yep. I agree.
There's no exceptions to that rule. I rarely say that, but I
that's true. You do rarely say that
because I don't I don't like straight lines in
there's no
categories.
black and white. Yeah,
but that's just true because it's the same mother effing thing. Everybody. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it is extra important to be first aware of your energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when people will ask about this or like give me some tips for grounding my energy, it's the same problem I always have about teaching people about intuition, about like literally anything that's intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like, well, you need to know what it's like for you because how it is for me is not how it is. How I feel when I'm grounded is not how you feel when you're grounded.
Correct.
The ways I ground myself are not the same ways that you use. Like,
no,
you have to know yourself. And I know that's a broken record. And I know that's a letdown of an answer because there's real work there and you can't follow a program. Like you have to actually pay attention to how you work. Right. You have to learn to like float outside of yourself a little bit and observe yourself. And I understand that that's triggering and hard to do.
Yep.
It is.
Oh, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work and it never stops.
Nope.
You never get better enough at it.
Nope. You keep on going.
Yeah. But it's worth doing. Like people who are just like chronically not grounded or chronically dysregulated are people who lack this ability to have awareness here.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So I want you to choose your clairs here. Like whatever works for you to think about, I want you to do it. So I'll try to say it in a couple of different ways, but like I can feel, I'm going to describe it visually because clairvoyance is my number one. I can feel the first thing I know when I'm ungrounded is that all of my energy feels like it's sitting at the top of my head.
Okay.
Okay. So visually it's like there's like I like to see energy as kind of a cloud. I know a lot of people like to see it as like a white circle or something, but to me it's like a floating cloud that changes shape all the time. That's my visual.
Okay.
So the cloud is just like circling the top of my head instead of being like all the way around my body. Like there's a orb around my body is probably how a healthy, regulated energy field looks. Yeah. It's all floated like a cloud up to the top of my head. That is the first thing I can feel. I can literally feel that I'm just like in my head. I'm probably starting to ruminate on stuff because that is a sign to me that all my energy is up there. Okay. If you want to think of it like more audiently, you could sort of like maybe feel like when I check in, where does my energy feel? And you could say like, do I say out loud? Do I say my feet? Like you can say it more verbally. Like if that works for you, you can just do it with a feeling like, where does my energy feel like it's sitting? Use what works for you here, but you need to be observant of your own. How would you say how would you describe the sort of first feelings of like, ooh, I'm losing grounding. Like my energy is going the opposite.
I think it could be two ways. Either I get really, if I'm like upset, I'm like, I get very tight, like things feel real tight.
Yes.
And everywhere, but mostly like my chest.
Yeah.
And like I get real narrow in my thinking.
Yeah.
So that tightens too.
Yeah. Almost like singular.
Yeah.
Focus.
Or if it's more of like a distracted ADHD type of like of dysregulation, things start to feel sort of messy. So my thoughts get really scattered.
Yes.
And like there's a lot more like noise in my head, like thought noise in my head that I'm trying to manage and like hone down.
You just did the perfect example, and I didn't even try to like slow walk you to it. But what I was going to say is that you're going to start to notice imbalance up there.
Right.
And that's what you're saying. Like, maybe I'm only able to focus on one thought, or maybe I can't focus on any. Yeah, the scale is tipped in a direction, and it's different for everybody. Okay, like for me, the physical scale feels like it's all up in my head, and like this sounds trippy. It is, but like I will touch my lower extremities, and they will be cold.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, like
it's the blood's literally going
stomach,
to the top.
And it's freezing. I'm not cold, but I can feel that my skin is cold. It's literally all of my energy is going up there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not literally all, but you know what I mean? Like
it's also a physical response too. It's not just an emotional response.
Yes. Right. But you will most likely start to feel it mentally before you feel it anywhere else. And that's why I think a lot of people talk about being dysregulated as a mental thing.
Unless you're deeply, deeply traumatized, then you won't feel it emotionally. You'll only feel it in your body.
You won't feel it emotionally, yes, but you might feel it mentally.
Yeah, you won't feel it like you won't feel your thoughts or your feelings going haywire.
Oh yes, you'll avoid it completely.
You'll only feel like your body going.
Which is
like why am I sweating? Why am I having heart palpitations? Why am I having a panic attack?
Which is why you have to know yourself.
Exactly.
Because no matter what, it's different for everybody. There's exceptions to every rule. Of course, that's going to happen. Now, just to clarify, what's happening is like mentally it's occurring first, but your trauma is not allowing those flags to be like alerted
to
in your
see
system.
Them. Right, exactly.
So then the physical sort of takes over because your body, believe it or not, Jamie is intuitive. I don't know if you know that.
Sure is. Sure
but
is.
It knows that it needs to take over that way.
Right.
Okay. And like it's not
it's taking over to protect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Becoming ungrounded or dysregulated is not a bad thing. It's a normal thing. Staying there, not bringing balance back to it is where you start to have trouble. It's sort of like saying like anger is bad.
No,
like
it's
you hate
not.
That when people assign morality to emotions, right?
Right.
Like it's not. You're going to like I feel like it could be one of those like bad cells where it's like stay grounded 100% of the time, and that means I'm better than everybody spiritually.
Ego death.
Yeah.
I've killed my ego. Now I'm better than everybody.
It's not possible. Listen, Jamie can attest to this. I have a lot of Taurus in my chart.
You do.
And I am just kind of naturally a grounded person. I have plenty of moments of not being grounded, but just kind of naturally someone who is pretty grounded. Okay. One of the things that happens to me when I go to therapy is I'm in therapy and I become very dysregulated in therapy. I don't know anyone who's like experiencing therapy, digging through their shit, and they're like, this is regulating me. It's gonna trip your stuff. You're gonna feel. So I start physically sweating because like I'm able to mentally push through. Emotionally, I can do it. And so all of that dysregulation goes to my lower back and my armpits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I walk out of there and I always come home and change my shirt. I know it doesn't matter the temperature in the room. I'm just going to sweat my ass off.
Yeah.
And the thing is, that is because I am dysregulated and my body is managing the fact that I am for an hour dysregulated.
And it's okay to be dysregulated because you have to get dysregulated to work on your shit.
You can't make like big changes in your life
by staying
and be regulated
the whole time.
Yes.
Right?
So this is my point. It drives me crazy. It's like
my cheeks. I can feel my cheek getting really hot and I'm red. I'm like flush. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Here we go. It's getting knocked out. So the thing is, I know that as I leave therapy, I go physically. As I'm walking down the stairs,
back to the car.
I do. As soon as I get outside, I'm like throwing energy down. Like I like to sometimes, I like things to be dramatic, Jamie.
Like drag your hands across the
bushes. I imagine I'm shooting daggers down into the ground.
True. That's like when you walk into the store.
Yeah.
Open the,
I do that. Open the doors. Yes, I'm like daggers down. Like I am dramatic about it because that I know how dysregulated I am.
Right.
Now I'm not upset. I'm not unwell. I'm fine.
No, you're just you're managing your energy.
Yes, but this is the thing. Again, we get it wrong where we're like, oh God, it's so bad to not be grounded and regulated.
Yeah,
it's not healthy to stay there. Mm-mm. It's not healthy to be unaware of these things, but it is perfectly healthy to swing in and out of regulated and dysregulated. Do I get to the dysregulation point where I can't manage myself? No.
Listen, people are doing that even if they don't know they're doing that. Exactly. Like when a toddler is having a tantrum and they're stomping their feet.
Yes.
They're
regulating.
They're
regulating.
Grounding. They're getting their energy out of their body. They're getting input. They're getting proprioceptive input.
Intuitively.
Exactly. Or like if you're like mad at someone or you're arguing and you're doing like this, like you know, and you're like pushing your energy, like that's balancing your energy. That's regulating your nervous system. Your body knows how to do it intuitively.
Do you know how many people will say to me, it's weird. I do this thing, like I get like upset or emotional. I just like need to go for a walk. Yeah. And I think that's so funny because you're grounding and you're using bilateral stimulation. You intuitively know to do that and you're just trusting it. And you don't even know why. Science didn't even tell you about it, but you still knew.
That's the overlap of intuition and science. And like, we've been doing shit like that forever.
If anyone tries to shame you for not being grounded all the time, leave immediately. This is bad news.
No.
This is somebody who does not actually understand how this works. Listen, if let me give you a dead grandma example because I know the people who like love the woohoo love the dead grandma example, but I think our people have come. There are people who have come to appreciate a dead grandma reference.
Hell yeah, they should.
Okay, let me just imagine that you right now, you're the best medium in the galaxy.
Okay.
And you go
at one time that was my desire.
Okay. And you start channeling dead grandma for me.
Okay.
And you start talking to me and you're channeling her and you give me all these messages. The whole time you're doing that, you're really dysregulated. I don't care. You're the best one in the world. That's not a regulating activity.
Agreed.
Okay.
That's a great point.
As soon as you're done, you're going to regulate your energy. In fact, you're going to be doing this and then you're going to ground in the middle of it to talk to me about it. And then you're going to, and you're just going to go in and out of those states.
That's constantly. A great point.
It's not.
That's a great point.
Because that like medium talking to dead grandma example is like the ultimate woohoo thing, right. I feel like, right?
Yes.
Or you talk to Robin 100%. Williams or something, whatever the newest thing is.
No, Mother God, we don't do that.
But that's the goal. That's the end game.
That's why if you're listening and you are an aspiring medium, and if you have like someone that you work with on that, if they're good, they're teaching you practices, before you start a session, and then after, and those are grounding,
And
you're grounding. You're opening to ground. Yes. First, you're opening to create boundaries, energetic boundaries, hopefully, and you're also grounding so that you can be in a state where you can be intuitive and call that energy. And then at the end, you should be doing those same things again.
Yes.
But for different reasons.
But see, people, that's not what they want to go for.
I know.
They want to go and they're like, I know, let me channel messages from the dead. And you're like, hold on, you need to first learn how to ground. You need to learn boundaries.
Exactly.
Like, and people are like, that's not what I want. And you're like, oh my God, but that's the work.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it well. And that's how you do it safely.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. I think we should take a quick break.
Okay.
We come back. I want to talk about like a few things about astrology and its influence. Mm-hmm. But I also want to talk about understanding what regulates / grounds you versus dysregulates and ungrounds you. Okay. Because it's not, I can't give you a list of activities because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be right back after this short break.
You know what goes great with podcast listening?
A great cup of coffee from a great coffee shop.
Yep. Beans roasted in-house, amazing baristas. You know where I'm talking about.
Restoration Coffee. Can we go?
Yes, I need an Americano and maybe a panini too.
Ooh, I need blueberry maple latte and probably a resto bowl.
Ooh, yeah. Check them out and visit restoration-coffee.com.
Let's talk about what we're obsessed with this week. All right, Heather. I don't have a Debbie Downer dungeon this week.
No, yeah.
I mean, a little bit. It's adjacent. Not like it's adjacent.
Debbie Downer dungeon adjacent.
We were talking about how, like, you have to find your people, right? I think that's part of like the intuitive journey, if you will. The intuitive journey.
Yes. Find your
intuitive. Please don't say tribe. Stop. Don't. Yep. If you feel yourself compelled to say tribe, stop it.
Yeah.
And if you're this color,
stop it.
Stop it.
Don't even finish.
Stop it.
Don't even say the T
I know we talk about white women all the time, but as a white woman, I feel like I can. And like, please, white women, stop saying find your tribe.
Oh yeah.
Stop it. God,
no, but it's our job as white women to be yelling at the white women. God. Listen, we're also yelling at ourselves.
Yeah, I'm always checking myself. But anyways, I do think that part of like navigating this capitalistic hellscape is finding your people, right? And so thankfully we found each other years ago. And one of the beauties of our friendship, we really should be sponsored by Marco Polo, by the way.
Oh, why hasn't that happened yet?
I don't know. But like the best part is like when you and I will Marco Polo each other and just fucking rant.
Well, because we are two people, I'm going to speak for both of us, who spend a lot of our time showing up for other people in the way that is like a version of ourselves that we think like is the best for the other person. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of masking going on. It's authentic. We're both very authentic people, but like very rarely to anyone besides each other are we like, here's my exact true feelings and reactions.
Yes.
It's not like sort of edited.
Right. Or managed in some way.
Managed is a good word. So we have permission with each other to be just raw people.
Right. Right. And lately for me, that has been being very bratty.
Oh yeah, you're having a bratty reaction to something. But here's the other thing that's funny. I enjoy you being angry or brat. Like it doesn't matter what the this makes me sound like a horrible person. I'll explain it more in a minute. But like when you're being you're being a brat about something right now.
Brat is like a step before mad.
Yeah, it's like you're frustrated, but you're like a petulant child about it. Like you're crossing your arms and stomping your feet. You're doing it, but you're doing that the whole time, and like you're saying the word stupid a lot.
I say stupid all the time.
Stupid
like
this,
I'm a stupid
that
thing, and I'll do this stupid activity.
Yeah.
So stupid.
I went to the stupid thing and I did the stupid thing. Yeah. So so the thing is,
don't worry, I'm talking to my therapist about it.
The thing is, I am greatly entertained by this, and because not because I'm a jerk. Well, maybe I am a little bit, but like
entertaining.
Because I understand that that's the way you're working through your resistance and your feelings and your anxiety towards the thing.
Right.
Is being that you're just letting that out, and then you're going and you're being your sparkly self to everybody, and then you get back in the car and you Marco Polo me, and you're the brat again.
Right.
This is, as somebody who loves human behavior, as somebody like this is great, but also as someone who knows you and knows that like. letting someone just like see you that way or whatever is a hard thing. Like I feel like you're trusting me. So like it's a good thing.
I was literally just going to say, it's like, it's a privilege. Like it's a, like when you will Marco Polo me and say whatever.
I say your first
and you're
name.
Like,
I say your full
Jamie. And like, she'll be like, this and this, Jamie.
I like interrupt myself to say
my name. And like, just Heather allowing someone to see her not completing sentences is like a privilege.
Or just out of control.
To know that you trust me enough to just like rant like that is like, it's an honor and a privilege.
But I also know that not only are you going to hold that space for me,
right?
I also know that you're going to be tickled. Like you're going to think it's funny. Like, and not funny because you like are glad I'm angry.
No.
But like we both understand that that's the process.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So like you just need someone who you can do that with. And listen, at some point, we both do this a little bit differently. I say to Jamie at some point in her bratty outbursts, I'm like, hey, you probably already know this, but you realize that this is like just easier for you to deal with your fear like this rather than like this, right?
And then I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid.
It's like, let's just make sure we call a spade so you understand this.
Yeah.
And then just keep going because actually what you're doing is healthy. This is like a really healthy way to get yourself through this hard thing that you're doing. And then the way that you say that to me is like, you might be mad at this, Heather. This is how you always say it.
I always say.
Yeah. You might get mad.
Yeah.
And I always
be mad at this if you want.
I'm not going to, permission to be mad at me. And you tell me like, a truth or a thing that you see like coming or something that I should think about or when you talk to the person, you're going to need to control yourself, like whatever.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And it's always well received and it's always just in there because you also need someone to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not going to be mad and screaming in front of you. If I also know that you're going to be like, check yourself.
Yes.
Please.
Right. Exactly.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So not only do you hopefully find those people.
Yes, please.
But try to be them for other people. Let people feel crazy.
Yes, exactly.
Especially women. You're supposed to always be performing that you're like got your shit together all the time.
Yep.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You liar.
Yeah.
You don't.
Find your people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Jay, let's talk a little bit about astrology when it comes to grounding.
Okay.
All right. So Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. If you have any of those in your big three, and if you have like a good amount of them in your natal chart altogether, those are earth signs. So those are naturally more grounded energies. So people who are, for example, my sun sign is Taurus.
Yep.
They are naturally inclined to be more grounded.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Jamie, but like traumatic shit happens to people.
I'm vaguely aware of that.
And it can cause even the most grounded of people to have trouble being grounded and be very dysregulated. Yes. So like, I don't want you to hear it and think like, oh,
I'm supposed to be cool all the time.
There's something wrong with me because, I've got all this Taurus or Capricorn or Virgo, but like, that's not how that works. It just means like your natural settings are just kind of more inclined to that.
Yeah. Or you'll like come back to that more easily.
Yes. I think that I'm very easily knocked out of feeling grounded, but I can very easily, very quickly pull myself right back to very grounded. Yep. It's very easy for me, where for some people that's harder. So I think it's just like, you're just pulling yourself back to a very familiar state is easier for some people. That's all. Yeah. Okay. But also what the sky's doing affects you, Neil deGrasse Tyson. And so especially the major planets and like the moon, what they're doing, like if they're in any of those signs, it's easier to feel grounded. Yep. If they're not in those signs, it's a little harder to feel grounded. So also give yourself a break. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the other people who are like me and they always need to know like what the moon's doing and like just to keep, the moon affects me a lot.
It does.
Okay. So I just try to keep an eye on what's happening. So I know. I do notice it's much easier to be grounded when it's in an earth sign.
Oh, I bet.
I mean, yeah. I notice people being wacky when it's in an air sign, like having trouble being grounded. It's just, it's like a forecast, like watching the weather before you go outside. That's all.
I know.
Okay.
It's true.
It's really important to understand what makes you grounded versus what makes you ungrounded or regulated versus dysregulated. So I've already touched upon this, but this is different for every single person. And it's also very connected to your own triggers, your own human desires, and your own fears.
Yes.
Okay. So, for example, if you are a certainty person, certainty, routine, ritual makes you feel grounded and regulated. Hi, that's me. I'm not just a member, I'm the president.
Yeah.
That's a little Hair Club for Men reference for you young
That's a dead dad president. Yeah, that's where that came from.
Okay. So then if you are a variety person like Jamie here,
super dysregulated.
Doing that is actually dysregulating. It doesn't mean that like you can't enjoy a ritual, but it's going to dysregulate your system to do it.
No, but
you just have to know that.
Yeah. Like if I had to go to a 9 to 5 and sit at a desk and do the same tasks every day, that would be incredibly dysregulating for me.
But even if I said to you, Jamie, I'm your new guru.
Oh, okay.
And what I'm going to have you do is I want you to do this 5-minute ritual every morning to ground and regulate your system. I have instantly dysregulated you by saying that because I didn't know.
And now I feel pressure, and now I feel like I have to do something.
And when you do it, are you going to feel good?
Screw up. And
So understanding if you're certainty or if you're variety, but also understanding like I'm someone who loves like connection. I love contributing. So like if those are in my top 2, those are regulating activities for my system.
That's a great point.
Okay. Now let's look at it the other way. So I'm a rejection person. If I start to do something where I feel like I could be rejected or I am being rejected, even if that's not happening, but like something is triggering that in me, immediately I'm going to be very dysregulated.
Right.
Okay. Where if that's happening to you, I mean, I don't think it feels good. And like, it's grounding me to be rejected.
No.
But it's not going to trigger that kind of response. Abandonment is going to trigger that kind of response. So it's not about being like, oh, let me just avoid ever feeling that way. That's impossible. But it's about having the self-awareness and knowledge that you're about to do something that's going to cause you to be dysregulated.
Exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a great point.
Okay. So understanding also the activities that you do in your everyday life. Here's an example. I've recently figured out, due to anxiety being a thing that in my 40s decided to
rear its ugly head.
Oh my God. I was like, let's really just fuck you up, lady.
Thanks, perimenopause.
It's awesome. Thank you. Is it perimenopause? Is it society? Is it all of it?
I think it's just like
it's all of it together.
It's a soup of disaster.
Some trauma mixed in. Like, there's all kinds of good stuff there.
Right.
But anyways, through that, I've realized that like anxiety shows up when I'm doing a dysregulating activity. And sometimes I don't realize that that was a dysregulating activity because it's not, before it wasn't hugely dysregulated.
Right.
Because not everything that makes you ungrounded feels bad.
Right.
So for example, I realized that driving is dysregulating to me. Okay. Now, as a person who naturally feels like they need to know moves that are about to happen before they happen, that makes driving a strange experience.
That's a good point.
Because it's like a constant feeling like I'm trying to predict everything. And I'm not doing that to impress anyone. It never comes out of my mouth. It's just like a natural solve a puzzle Sherlock Holmes thing that happens to me. It's like just how I'm wired. So for that and a bunch of other reasons, driving is dysregulating. Now, I love driving. I love, especially with like my music or my book on, going for a drive. It doesn't mean I'm feeling bad when I'm doing it.
Right.
Anxiety has shown up now when I'm going somewhere I don't know where I'm going.
Right.
And all of a sudden I'm like, is someone holding a gun to my head or am I just trying to find parking? Like, and my body doesn't know the difference.
Am I being hunted for sport or parallel parking?
Exactly. Like it just becomes this thing. So it sort of pointed it out to me. Right.
Right.
Now, when I drive, all I do now is make sure I do an extra grounding moment before I get in the car. And then as soon as I get out, I do it again. And then I'm fine.
Yeah.
But I know it about myself. Now, you, for example, I would say if you needed to ground your energy, you might go for a drive.
I would. Yes.
That's a very grounding activity for you. And I think someone with more of like an ADHD brain where managing a lot of stimuli at the same time is like actually feels good to your system.
Yeah, like the management of the road and the driving and all of the variables of that becomes like enough of a focus that the rest of my brain can calm down and take a break.
Yes.
And then you add in some music or a book, and then it's like I can just kind of like calm down for a bit.
Yes. My system is like, we need to filter all of this information and figure out what it means. And it's just like a lot. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm here already. Like I want to keep going.
Yeah. Sometimes I get somewhere and I'm like, I don't remember driving here. I think I blacked
exactly. Right. Exactly.
So like, yes. Yeah. So that kind of stuff happens. But my point to this is you probably know the things that you do that are very dysregulating, that are like very much make you feel the opposite of grounded. But you might not know the things that do it a little bit. Okay. Right, that pull you just a little bit. And it's all those little things throughout a day where you're not consciously grounding or regulating again that cause you, most people, to be dysregulated. Right. Okay. Or not grounded, whichever term you'd like to use. I am purposely using them interchangeably.
Yes, I noticed.
Okay. All right. So the other thing that I think is interesting, because I saw this as an example, was somebody was saying like one of the most grounding things you can do is to cook for someone, like have the vegetable, as you can see by Jamie's reaction, if you're watching us, that's not true, spoiler alert. But like, I understand they're saying like, okay, you got carrots from the ground and you're cutting them and you're making something into something people are going to eat and nourishing them. Like this is a grounding activity. I understand the thought process behind it. There are grounding elements to cooking.
Or even just following the steps of a recipe can be grounding for someone.
Yes. Okay. But to say for everybody that cooking is a grounding activity is completely wrong.
Yes.
Okay. I happen to find it very grounding, very regulating, because what it does for me is it makes me hyper focus on something. And then I can also have like a background TV show, and that is a good balance for me. That makes me feel, okay, I'm putting myself back together. I'm just following these steps right now.
Yeah.
It like pulls me into the present.
Yep.
What does it do for you, Julie?
The absolute opposite. Like cooking for me is an executive functioning disaster.
Yeah.
It's like you're forcing me to start managing all of these different things in different ways and
in an order and timing.
And taste and everyone liking it. Is this the way this person likes it? Do I like it like this? And then it makes a mess that you have to clean up. And it's like, I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it. Thankfully, my husband is like you. It's very regulating for him.
Yes.
Not me.
But the thing is, like, imagine if you're just like putting out a book or like a 10-step program and you're like, go cook dinner, to ground your energy. And then you have all this shame because you don't feel grounded by it. Like, that's silly. And the thing is, that doesn't mean that you would be like, I can never cook because it dysregulates me and makes my energy not grounded. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, but you could just be aware.
And I still do like cook for my family.
Of course. But you could just be aware that this is not a grounding activity for me. So I'm going to need to ground before. I'm going to need to ground after. I'm going to need to build in some things while I'm doing it that are going to help support me, like knowing the executive functioning parts. Right. What can I do? Like all these things. Yep. Okay. It just makes you understand this more. But again, it's not the same for everyone. So you have to know yourself. You have to be able to pay attention and go, oh, I'm starting to feel dysregulated.
Yep.
I think a lot of the times, this is a wild claim. It just popped into my head right now. Oh. You can be like, I don't believe you. I haven't even thought it through. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Is that dysregulating for you to hear?
No,
it would be for me, but not for you. Okay. I think when people tell me you seem really confident, what they mean is you seem like your energy is really grounded.
Oh.
I think that's what they're reading.
That's interesting.
And I don't think it's just personally for me. I think because when people say that to me, I'm always, I think confidence is just a pretend state.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
But
I agree.
I don't think there's anyone out there who's actually confident. I think it's just a state that they're in that you're noticing.
Right.
So when people say it, I'm always like, oh, what am I doing? And I'm always like, oh, I'm grounded.
I think you might be onto something. I'm going to think more about this.
Okay. You can let us know. Write in. Maybe you hate it. Maybe you like it. Doesn't matter. That's just what I think. Okay. The other thing with grounding activities.
Interesting.
Is one of the most dysregulating like ungrounded things you can do is experience any kind of fear, particularly shame. Okay. So first of all, if shame starts to like perk up, this is an emotional element, right? But like if you start to feel shame about anything, you start to cook and you start feeling shame. I know you do when you start to cook. Okay. Yep. Like that is like a red flag that you have instantly become not grounded. Like you can't be grounded and feel shame at the same time.
No.
Right. Or be regulated. Like that's
no,
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, because if you're feeling shame, your brain is going to be instantly trying to protect you. Shame is a place where you have to protect yourself.
It's a fear.
So you have to like go into like defense mode.
Yes.
So that's not regulated.
And what happens with shame is shame triggers scripts.
Yes.
Okay.
Sure does.
So suddenly like you cracked an egg into a bowl. I'm trying to use a cooking example. And then some shell got in it.
Or yeah.
Okay. And you are like, I am the biggest idiot on the planet. I'm so stupid. I can't do anything.
Or even if it's not that extreme, it's like you crack the egg and it spills onto the floor.
Yeah.
You're like I always make such a mess. Like,
yes.
Like, why can't I just like do this and do it like, and keep it clean and get my shit together? That's like a script that like you probably picked up when you were a kid, right?
Exactly. Like you're running something that's just a mistake.
It's just an egg.
It's just it costs. Apparently, they cost.
Well, I mean, it's like gold at this rate, but you know what I mean. Like
I do.
Your brain like slips into those stories.
Yes.
Because of shame.
I literally, not necessarily when I'm cooking, but like, do you remember the clip of Gordon Ramsay calling someone an idiot sandwich?
Yes.
I literally think that about myself.
Oh.
Like, oh, you idiot sandwich. And
Heather.
I know, but listen, I do it out of jest. I know you're going to yell at me for this, but bear with me. I know I'm lying, but I'm just telling you, this is the script in my head. I'm just kidding. Or I'll call myself silly because that's like a better word than the idiot sandwich.
Oh.
And so I've learned via my friend and Jamie and my therapist that like, no, that's shame. You're being really hard on yourself. What are you trying to protect yourself from?
Right.
Like it's this thing. So like my point
silly is also something they call little girls. It's very demeaning. You silly little girl.
Just ruined it for me.
Sorry.
No, I need it ruined, so that's good. Am I being demeaning to children? To my
someone was demeaning to you. Yes,
that's what I mean. Yes. My inner child.
Someone was demeaning you, and now you're doing it. Okay. Be nice to Heather, please. That's my friend.
I have trouble with that, but in my mind, it's in jest. So like I drop the egg.
Oh, I hear you.
And I'm like, you idiot sandwich. And it's funny and people laugh at it. And it's a reference to a TV show.
No.
But what I'm really doing is trying to like let my shame out.
Yeah. And so I do the same thing in my head and I'll be like really hard on myself. I'll be like, Jesus, like get it together. Yeah. What the fuck is going on? Like, what's your problem, James?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, be nice. And I'm like, well, no, I'm just trying to like, get better at this. I'm like not that way. Like, that's not how you do it.
Well, your favorite thing in the world is to be a beginner at something.
I love it. I love being new at something. It's so fun, dude. It's so fun. Even better is being new at something and then someone watching me be new at it.
Oh, someone observing you be a beginner.
Yeah, love it. I love it.
That's Jamie's nightmare. It is her literal nightmare. Yeah. Okay.
Please watch me not know what I'm doing. It sounds so fun.
Well, that kind of leads me into a story, just real quick, is that also, just to make this more difficult for you and prove my point that you need to know yourself, something that was once regulating can become dysregulating. Something that was once grounding can become not grounding. Something that was once not grounding at all can become a grounding activity. And if you're not paying attention to your intuition,
correct,
you're not going to understand that that's happening. So I got your permission ahead of time to tell a little story. So one of the things that Jamie used to say to me all the time is that like we are very different in the way that something that's very regulating and grounding to my system is to work out.
Yes.
Okay. And I literally operate so much better in my day if I do that. And it's, as someone who has struggled a lot with body image and maybe like exercising or using food to like hurt myself, thinking of doing it to ground my system and to regulate my system is a much healthier way to think
wonderful.
of it. Okay. Yes. So we talk a lot about that, but you would say how you were the opposite.
Yeah.
That like the literal worst thing you could do would be to have you exercise or go for a run or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Super dysregulating.
Super dysregulating. No desire. Desire was not present there. Okay. For years of our relationship. Okay. And then one day, what happened, Jamie?
I said I wanted to start lifting weights.
I actually
like
think
literally
you said
years ago.
Actually, the quote was that you wanted to start lifting weights so you could punch Nazis in the street.
I said I wanted to fight Nazis in the street.
That was actually where it started.
And this was years ago, by the way, before people
Elon
started
Musk
talking,
saluted.
before he took over the government.
Yeah,
we could feel it coming.
Oh, we've been bracing.
And I knew that there was going to be a time when there were fascists openly. They've always been here, right? But that it was out in the open, and I was like, I'm going to need to fight somebody.
I think this was during the first Trump administration.
Yes,
that you said
absolutely.
This, just to be clear. Yeah. So all of the sudden, you have been because your desire, your fear was still there about it, but your desire started telling you that you needed this to regulate yourself.
Right.
Your intuition was like, Jamie, it's time to lift weights to regulate your
nervous system. Right.
Even though you still didn't actually want to do it.
No.
So this is the thing. If you're a mystery to yourself, you're never going to figure this stuff out. You started exercising and lifting the weights, Jamie, and it's regulating to your system.
Yeah. And let's be really honest about it. It was actually something I had to talk to my therapist about for like a long time. Like I wasn't just like, oh, I'm scared of this. And I feel like I know it's going to be good for me, so I'm going to do it anyways and go to the gym. Right. Like, and
I'm going to be a good girl.
And the next day I went and got a gym membership. That is not what happened. It was literally months of talking about, and I know that sounds ridiculous.
It doesn't sound ridiculous,
but like,
though.
It was, I could feel my intuition was pushing it enough.
Yeah.
That I knew it was something that I wanted. Like I would see a TikTok of a woman lifting weights and I would be like,
your intuition was like, you need
that. And I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And I'd see another one and be like, that. And it just gets louder and you're like, fuck. But like,
that's what intuition does. It haunts you.
Yeah.
Like people always talk about being haunted by ghosts. And I'm like, it's a lot easier to me than being haunted by my desires because they drive me crazy.
Right.
But that didn't mean your fear and the resistance to doing it was ever wrong. I just want to clarify that. When you didn't desire it, you did good.
Right.
You didn't force yourself to do something other people were telling you was right for you when your intuition was like, that doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
You still had resistance around it. I don't want to take away from that. But like we sort of act like you have to like break these barriers down before your intuition asks you to. And that's just simply not true.
Right.
So it's just like that can change. And it was never wrong or right. And it's like people, especially when it comes to like exercising and stuff, we still like weaponize it, especially against women.
Right.
Like, so I just want to acknowledge that. But like, we make it seem like you're like a good girl for doing it, but like you're not supposed to talk about it too much or something, or like you probably are trying to conform. So like it's bad that you're doing it because you're doing it for the patriarchy.
Right.
It's such a minefield.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So the thing is, you gotta, in order to survive any of that, you need to listen to yourself. You need to hear what you're saying. But you also need to give yourself enough grace to go like, let me talk to my therapist about this. Like, my intuition has told me to do this. It's leading me here, but I have these fears and resistance around it. Let's work on this. That's not crazy. That's like the actual work.
Correct. And that's how you get to a place where you can be regulated doing it. Like if I had just been like, no, I really want to do this and I'm just going to throw myself into it.
Yeah.
I would have done it and it would have been so dysregulating for me that I would have quit.
Yes. 100%.
But because I like went slowly, sought the help of a professional.
Yeah.
And then did it that way in a safe way. I now can do it and it can regulate me instead of like the first few minutes before I walk in, like as I'm gearing up to go and walking in, is it still hard and dysregulating? Do I want to like pout and go home and stupid gym, stupid class? Like, yes, I have those moments, but the desire, the intuition is stronger.
Yes.
And I know that when I get in there and do the actual work, then I'm going to be regulated.
But you've also learned to trust your intuition and trust your desires.
Right.
and to know, like people are saying like, oh, I have trouble trusting my intuition because sometimes it's been wrong or led me to the wrong place. And I'm like, that doesn't apply to intuition.
Right.
Your intuition led you here. You worked on the fear part. You listened to both. You can't only listen to one. If you're saying your intuition was wrong, I have a feeling what happened is you disregarded your fear and just did what your intuition said instead of having both counsel you into what to do.
And work together.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So the thing is like, that is, you learn to trust the whole process, the fear, the resistance, the draw, the desire, and to not label any of it good or bad or right or wrong, and to just experience it.
Right.
Which is a present moment grounding activity.
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to add here at the end that ungrounded energy is way more contagious than grounded energy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like it's have you ever felt someone just like very ungrounded walk into a room? Like I do like a shaking hand, so like it feels like it's vibrating. Like someone's energy's stuck in their body and it's vibrating, and I just want them to like channel it into the ground because it's so, it immediately will knock you off. As soon as you pick it up and clock it, you will become dysregulated.
Yes.
So it's important. Yes. Have a 10-minute meditation. Go to a sound bath. I love those things. Go to like the crystal
salt
bowls.
Caves.
Go to the salt cave. We've been to a salt cave.
You took me for my birthday.
It was
awesome.
great. Do all of those things. Go outside in your bare feet. Hug the trees. Like go into a forest. Do all of that stuff. Yes. But you also have to be able to, sitting somewhere in a rooms without windows, be able to ground your energy in a second.
Yeah.
Now, will it be enough that you don't have to go outside or do that?
Yeah.
Maybe not. But like you have to be able to, in those moments, do that. And you have to be able to kind of train your energy to react to grounding your energy when it starts to dysregulate. Like it just becomes an automatic response.
I think now that you're saying that, like how dysregulation is like contagious, I think that regulation or grounding is actually really attractive.
Oh, yes.
And I think it might actually be, and I don't mean like sexual attraction.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah. But I think like
energetically attract. Yeah. You're like, why am I drawn to that person?
That might also go into your theory of the confidence. Is that like people, I think a lot of people will say to me, like, I just feel so, like comforted by your energy. And I'm always like, why? I'm just like, I'm not trying to like,
no, you just have naturally healing energy. Right. Yeah, and which is very grounded.
I think you might be feeling that I'm regulated.
Yes.
Or my energy regulates you. We're like co-regulating.
I think that's a good point because I think that I think this is true for both of us, but you tell me what you think. While we are communicating with another human, because we love connection, and both of us love to figure out people. We're very curious. Like, tell me your job's fine, whatever, blah. The weather's fine, but like, let's talk about how you operate. Like, we're both very interested in that. To do that, I call it like the Sherlock Holmes state. When we're doing that, we're both very regulated. Like, this is something that our systems enjoy. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as it stops, the spell breaks, or energetically, I can't hold that anymore.
Right.
Okay. I become dysregulated instantly. But when I'm in it with you, I am very grounded. Same with you.
Yes.
And it's like a natural state for people who I think heal or help people in some way. I feel like that sometimes with like a really good medical professional, like they walk in the room and the way they stand, I see that their energy is very grounded while they're talking to me. I'm instantly like,
assured.
Yes, I can talk to you. Right. But like, so I wonder if that's part of that too, of like, oh, now you're getting that. Now, I mean, if you happen to ever be there after I've finished speaking somewhere, or, I mean, Jamie's had to like rip me out of those rooms because like I'm like there. As soon as that spell breaks for me, my system is so incredibly dysregulated. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I think the shifting of those gears is dysregulating.
Yes. So it's those kinds of things that you need to understand about yourself. But I wonder, like, is that just like a healer thing? Like it's our states are just designed very grounded because that's what the people need.
I would say yes.
You know, like I think it's interesting.
I think that's valid.
I think if we study that stuff more, if like science could stop being so silly.
Yep.
Stop being idiot sandwiches. then maybe we could work on it, you know?
Absolutely.
All right, well, let's go drink some coffee and we'll act really grounded and see if people think we're confident.
Okay.
We'll do a little experiment.
Hey everyone, Heather and I have an ask for you. If you love this episode or if you love the IGG, can you do us a favor? We need you to go onto whatever platform you listen on and download, subscribe, like, love, whatever it's asking you to do. Can you go do those things for us on the platforms that you listen on? It would mean so much to us.
Thanks for listening to our episode. For a way to get in touch with us, please visit our website, intuitivegirlsguide.com. We love hearing your feedback on our episodes.